Assalamualaikum and hi. My team and I decided to choose sepak takraw ball. Why is this ball so special? Let me tell you. Sepak takraw was actually born in Malaysia. Yes guys, this is our sport. During Kesultanan Melayu Melaka time, this sport was actually played by the royal like about in 15th century. In the following century, which is 16th century, this sport has been spread into Indonesia as well as other Southeast Asian countries such as Singapore, Thailand, Brunei and many more. So, this sport was actually a very popular sport in Southeast Asia. Did you know? Sepak takraw has different name according to particular Southeast Asian country. In the beginning of the time, sepak takraw was actually known as sepak raga in Malaysia and Indonesia. Meanwhile, people in Thailand call it takraw, Chinlon in Myanmar, Sipa in Philippines, Dachau in Vietnam, and Jagi Chagi in Korea. Now, let's talk about the ball. The ball was actually made up of a woven rattan. This is the original one, but as the times fly, people nowadays make it more commercial by using synthetic fiber with various types of color. International Sepak Takraw Federation (ISTF) has set the specific measurement of the ball that can be used in sepak takraw match. The diameter of the ball was about 14 cm and 13.36 cm to be exact.
And now I will talk about the geometrical shape of the sepak takraw ball. So do you know by the meaning of the geometrical shape? So actually the geometrical shape is the figures that demonstrate the shape of object we see in our everyday life. So in geometry, shapes are the forms of the object which has boundary lines, angles, and surfaces. For the sepak takraw ball, there are few geometrical shapes that we can look onto the design of the sepak takraw ball. There are 4 geometrical shapes that we found in the sepak takraw ball. The first shape that exists in the sepak takraw ball is actually the spherical shape. So if we look onto the bola sepak takraw in the front view, since the sepak takraw ball is actually in the round shape, it is considered as 3-dimensional shape because it has the surface area and its volume from the radius. However, the sepak takraw ball does not have faces since it is round in shape. The sepak takraw ball also don't have the corner and edges. The geometrical shape that exists in the sepak takraw ball is pentagon. So since the making of the sepak takraw balls is actually by using the weaving technique, it produces 12 holes and the 20 intersection between them. So the 12 holes that produce is resemble, we can actually say that it is demonstrate to the pentagon shape. The last shape in the sepak takraw ball is a parallelogram, which is parallelogram is the opposite of facing sides are equal in length, or we can say it is congruent. We know that in the making of the sepak takraw balls, we need to the intersections them in order to make it sphere. So each intersections we can say that it is resembles to the shape of a parallelogram.
So now I will explain about the geometrical concept. Geometrical concept basically are dependent on the 3 basic concepts, which is point, line, and a plane. It cannot precisely defined by the terms, but it refers to the mark of the position and has an accurate location. The shape that include in sepak takraw ball consists of circle, sphere, pentagon, and parallelogram. So let's see the first shape. If you look in the term of a 2-dimension involve a plane X and Y, the shape of the circle will be formed as shown in the figure A1. Circle symbol can be written as this. A circle is the set of all the points in the plane that are at a fixed distance from a given point known as the center of the circle, as you can see marked with the letter C. The circumference of this circle have a length 42 cm. Duration of the circumference of the circle to length of its diameter is a unique positive constant. From this value, we can find the diameter and the radius for this circle. The calculation shown in the table A1. For radius, we get 6.68 cm and the diameter we get 13.36 cm. Second shape is the sphere, which a set of all points in the three-dimensional space that are at a fixed distance are a given point known as the center of the circle. This sphere has a 13.36 cm of a diameter and a 6.68 cm radius. This shape make the ball can be spin. There are three characteristics of this ball that can be called sphere. First, the locus of a fixed distance r from a center of the sphere. Second, the surface determined when a circle is rotated about any of its diameter. Lastly, the ball surface that the number of faces increase without limit. The table B1 shows the calculation of an area and a volume for the ball. The surface area we get 140.19 cm square and the volume is 186.91 cm cube. Third shape is a pentagon. As you can see the figure C.1, a pentagon is a geometrical shape which have a 5 side and 5 angle. The length of each side is 1.3 cm, and we also measure the interior angle of a pentagon, which are each of them have angle 108 degree. The epitome value also we measure, which is 1 cm. The calculation of interior angle, perimeter, and the area pentagon shape in the sepak takraw had been shown in the table C.1. Sum of the interior angle is a 540 degree. Perimeter of pentagon is a 6.5 cm and the area of a pentagon is 3.25 cm square. The last one is parallelogram. There are two parallelograms that can be found in this ball. If we can see the difference of two parallelograms, there are the difference in the length of A and altitude, which is high. These parallelograms are quadrilateral in which both pair of opposite sides are parallel. A parallelogram also has an altitude known as a line segment that is perpendicular to the non-adjacent. A diagonal of a parallelogram separates into two congruent triangles. The opposite angle of a parallelogram are congruent. The diagonal of a parallelogram bisect each other. Two consecutive angles of a parallelogram are supplementary, which is 180 degrees. Table D.1 shows the calculation of a two parallelogram for the sum interior angle, perimeter, and the area. So, sum of interior angle for both are 180 degrees. Perimeter of a parallelogram for the first is 70 cm, while the second is 12 cm. The area for the first parallelogram is 13.5 cm square, while the second is 3 cm square. So, next part will be explained by Amisha.
Transformation in motif and patterns. For patterns, there are 5 parallelograms and 1 pentagon and 1 pattern on the sepak takraw ball. For motif, there are lines, parallelograms and pentagons. For the lines, in each yellow parallelograms, there are 3 lines. How about the blue one? The blue parallelograms, there are 2 parallelograms with the length of 0.6 cm and the width 4.6 cm. Pentagon. I calculate that there are 12 pentagon holes on this sepak takraw ball. Pentagon has 5 sides. The length of each side is 1.3 cm and each angle is 108 degrees. So that is the motif for this sepak takraw ball. Translation. Translation is one of the geometric transformation that is every point of the shape is moved by the given direction in the same distance. For example, we can see on the sepak takraw ball a parallelogram JKLM is slided to the right to form the parallelogram WXYZ. So when the parallelogram slide to the right, point J becomes point W, point K become point X, point L become point Y, point M become point Z. Reflection, which means each pair of corresponding point lie on the opposite side of line reflection at the same distance. As the picture shown, we can see the original one is the ABC. When it is reflected, it becomes the reflected image ABC. Rotation. Rotation means turning around a center with a given point and with a certain degree. The distance from the center point to any point on the shape is still the same. For example, on this sepak takraw ball, the red dot is the center of the shape, is the center point. So when it rotates 120 degrees, it still shows the same shape and the same distance.
We are going to our last part of this assignment, which is 3.0. In these sections, we will talk about summary and conclusion. Okay, so now let us talk about summary. So what we can summarize from our assignment is we know that Malaysia has a very interesting and rich cultural history, right? There are traditional dishes, costumes, games, and many more as a result of the merging different Malaysian nationalities. We choose to employ takraw ball as our research object in the study. We all know that one of the traditional games named sepak takraw use rotan balls, right? Everyone knows that. The Malay rulers have played the long-standing traditional game of takraw football, also known as the arc or cage, since before 1478 during the Malacca Sultan in the 5th century. Takraw football is thought to have been created and launched by Encik Hamid bin Maidin, according to UMNO Jelutong, Patani Street Cup, Penang. The sepak takraw contested their first international band competition at the SAFE Games in Malaysia in 1965. The goal of the test is to know how well the individual can kneel, push or kick the ball in order to prevent it from hitting the ground. And we should know that the takraw ball formerly made of rotan and it has been replaced by synthetic balls. Rotan to synthetic ball. Oh yeah, in addition, the sphere, circle, tagot and parallelogram can all be assumed to be sepak takraw ball shapes. So in this study, we employ junctions with 20 crossings, 12 holes and rotan sepak balls with a diameter 13.36 cm. Okay, so based on what we have discussed and what I have discussed with my teammates, we can conclude that the information we gain from this assignment is the relationship between geometry and culture. So we know that geometry has always been an important part of culture. The use of geometry in the design process help individuals select the optimal layouts and components for a variety of goods. Really useful, right? Additionally, it offers novel ideas, a fresh appearance, and keep them relevant for years. Very useful in our daily life also. And then this research raised our awareness of both our culture and geometry. So here we can observe right once that we know very little about the subjects. And based on these assignments, we have studied and we have learned a lot about the origins of the sepak takraw, the people who have employed it, and the reason why is it still used until now.